hazards, you cancel busing. I think that it should make this elimination of busing null and void. And as a taxpayer who's interested in protecting the taxpayer's most valuable assets, the students, should ask the board to overturn this administration's findings and eliminate busing, or not to eliminate busing.
Who's going to pay for it?
Okay. Just a minute. Have you seen this year's budget?
It's actually on the agenda for
It's only in the agenda for the busing.
Jordan Medorsky.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. First, I want to kind of characterize Winthrop Harbor. I think it's a good microcosm of the state of Illinois. We're not an and I know statistically, there's going to be extremes on either side, but we're not an overly prosperous community like something like Northbrook or Libertyville, and we're not a largely subsidized community like some of the other communities near us, where the tax base is supported by a lot of rental properties and Section 8 and things like that, where the landlord gets the money and he basically then pays the taxes with the money he gets from subsidized rent. No matter where we live in this town, most of us, I think, by and large, rent-owned, we carry our own water here. And so I think we're a good microcosm for that. A couple other things I wanted to say here was, I think the teachers have every right to ask for every dime they can. No one's disputing that. They're in a professional career, they should be able to get it. However, I think by the same token, the taxpayer should have every right to get the most for its dollar too. So if you're gonna get a bid to roof your house this winter before winter comes, you're gonna get a bid. You're gonna get 2 or 3 bids. You're gonna get the best deal you can for the least amount of money you can. And I'm not discrediting anybody. You do a fine job, okay? But there are a lot of other people that could do a fine job in our community as well. And quite frankly, if somebody could do just as good a job for $10,000 or $15,000 more or less, pardon me, I think I take that. Okay, just for the sake in pure dollar terms. Okay, all emotion, all sentiment aside. And I voted for the last referendum in 2006. Okay, I voted to get PE back. I voted to get band back. I voted for after-school activities. And I voted for a modest increase in pay. I did not vote for 15 to 18% raise over the course of from 2007 to 2010 during the recession. Okay? Now I realize we didn't know it was coming, but there was no effort to claw any of this back. Okay? And I know technically a recession is 2 quarters of down gross domestic product, okay? If anybody thinks this is a recovery, when you think that a lot of households are 100% debt to GDP, believe me, we got a long way to go before you would call this a recovery. And I think last month there was a very well-spoken testimony from another local business person who told you just how tough it is. Okay, and I'll move on here as quick as I can because those are the people that want to talk.
Jordan, you got about 15 seconds.
Okay, bottom line, okay, school buses go back to before World War II. The fact that we have seen fit to get rid of them instead of other things, to me, is really, it's not fair. And if I may, one more question. I understand, and I've seen a lot, and I've been part of the whole conversation and everything else, and I'm sure people are mad at me, but I'm kind of taken by the fact that the people that are parents that are against busing and say it's too bad to the parents who need the busing, too bad, you got to figure that out on your own. To the taxpayers, you say too bad, pay it. But when it comes to raising the salary, that you want to coddle. I don't get it. I don't understand your priorities. Thank you very much.
In case anybody's counting, I'm trying to give everybody about 3 minutes. It's sounds like you're wrapping up. I'm giving you a couple of seconds over.
I'm sorry.
Pam Crombie.
Well, this is a pretty short question, actually, and I would like to just for the record find out again, regarding the recent referendum, why was the request for $4.4 million over a 4-year period when retaining the bus transportation over that 4-year period would have cost under $1 million? How would the remaining $3 million have been spent aside from retaining 4 teachers? No, that's my question.
Okay, so you'll send your response on where that was supposed to go.
Thank you.
Okay? Gavin, roll.
Back to the busing thing, in the spring, we were given numbers of 220,000 for 3 buses, or 280 from the April minutes, or not the minutes, but the video that was taken then. Now that it appears we have a new quote of quite a bit less, which equals out to be a real small percentage of that budget, what is the likelihood, like was mentioned earlier, that a lot of the board members weren't up to speed on all this stuff? Now they are up to speed, perhaps they'll reconsider that. It's almost half of the initial, or what was thought was last spring.
And in light of the quotes that Dennis got, it is on the agenda, can thank for reconsideration.
Okay, you got quotes on regular busing as well?
I did in evidence. We told you we were paying about $140,000 for transportation, and we paid last year $139,600.
Right here, you said, that was right, but since the governor's proposal to balance, he's talking about doubling the amount of money we pay for transportation. So instead of it being 140 for 4 buses, he's talking about 280. I don't understand how the governor has any say how we handle our affairs.
The governor was going to pay less for schools for transportation.
Maybe
It still isn't defined at this point. The $140,000 is the least. This year, I've got down, turned in our form, $139,600. That's the most I'm going to get. I may well get less, because they'll decide as they go whether or not they pay their last payment. So at this point, when he was talking, there was a proposal by the governor to double the amount, to cut in half the amount schools would get for transportation. So if I had to pay 140, he was saying, all we're going to do is have you pay 280. And it still isn't defined. They still haven't agreed on a budget. But I'm counting on us having to spend $100,000+ if we put busing back.
Okay, I understand that, but like, I watched that video a couple times, and it was really confusing for me then, and even watching it a couple times, and I imagine it was for some of the board members as well. But being that it's roughly 140 for 3 buses, you know, I understand the special ed is a separate issue. That's already in the budget, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's going no matter what.
Yes, sir.
So it's pretty minor. What is it, like 2% of the entire budget? It'd be, I don't, personally, to me, I can drop my kid off and pick them up. It's no difference. But I hate to see somebody get injured or hurt and trying to educate them, but how can you educate a kid in the hospital?
Okay, great, thanks, Gavin.
There's been a lot of talk about the safety issue in the parking lots at the schools, and I would venture to guess there's nobody in this room that can doubt that I've spent more time in that parking lot than you guys spend in your own driveways. For the last 10 years, I've been at all 3 schools every day, pick up and drop off. Today was the very first day I actually got to experience this. I went to Westfield School. I don't know about North Prairie, but I have to say kudos to you teachers that were out there. Mrs. Hodge, Kim Young. I have never seen it that organized and that safe in 10 years. So whoever's complaining about how unsafe it is, you should have seen it before. This was amazing today. I don't know what North Prairie was, but it was so organized, and these teachers did such a good job taking care of each and every kid individually, getting in the car. I was amazed. I was absolutely blown away. I can't believe what all the complaints are about, because before it was chaos. The teachers were maybe one out there, the kids were running around in between cars, and the first couple days maybe might have been different than today. But it was awesome, and thank you.
It's not at the school, the ones that walk.
Sorry, did I comment on that part? No. I was commenting on the school parking lot.
So being in the medical field, an educator myself, I'm curious to know what does it make my child special that I cannot get busing from the tax money that I give to the city? Mr. Geiser, please look at me when I'm speaking because I'm upset at this.
I'm writing
And the
notes
mere
so I can
fact
respond
that the
to
first
your
thing in
comments.
school, Miss Lambert, thank you. All the teachers that were out there just hovering over the kids because of the lightning and the thunder. My baby had open heart surgery. I had to hear you cry on the phone and it didn't do anything because nobody protected the kids except for those teachers back there who's been putting up with the crap ever since last year. Between getting pay raises, cut the buses, they're more worried about our children than each of you are. You gotta be ashamed of yourself.
Okay, this time we're going to close the floor for public comments and questions and move on to the public hearing for the fiscal year 2012 budget. I have one person that has asked to speak about the budget, Lenny Garrett from Round Lake Beach.
I'm here to kind of talk about the budget a little bit, and I want to tell you one quick thing about the busing. If you end up getting a kid ends up getting hurt, you're going to spend more in a lawsuit than you would have ever spent on the budget. Budget, I took a look at the budgets over the last several years, basically from 2004 through up to 2010, from what I can find at the ISBE website, from the county website. Your budget has increased by around 70% in that time. Your taxes and levy has increased about 70% in that time. Inflation has been less than 20%. Your student population has dropped nearly 20%. You're sitting there, you have all this extra money, and all you're doing is spending, spending, spending. You're never saving for a rainy day. You're never looking forward to the point. And you can see the state every year. They cut back. They don't always give you all this money. This coming year, your student aid is only going to be at the max 95% of the formula. So you've got to start figuring out how to budget, how to plan for a rainy day, because you're not doing it, and you can't.